Okay, everyone doing all right? Silence is the good answer. Well, hello. My name's Aaron Krauss. I'm going to be talking today about how to give talks. It's a very meta talk, I've been told by a couple of different people. I'm giving a talk about how to give talks so that you can give talks. It's going to be a great talk. It won't be a full-length talk, so we'll get out of here early. I think 30 minutes is going to be my max to aim for. So if we're not done by 12:15, then throw some chicken wings at me, because I'll eat them. That'll also be a sign, though. Okay, so before I get into things, I'm going to assume that a lot of people here and a lot of people on the Twitch stream have probably thought about giving development talks, and a lot of you have, I'm sure. I know some of you have, and that's great. For those of you who haven't given talks and have thought about it in the past, I know I've heard a lot of the common reasons, and I want to address them throughout the talk. You know, I get too nervous. No one's going to find my talk interesting. I don't have anything to talk about. All those things. There's tons of reasons you can tell yourself why you don't want to give a talk. And the core thing I want to bring up is that you're not alone in any of that. So we got a lot of slides to go through. I'm going to try to address everything and really try to give you the motivation to want to give a talk, not to feel like you have to by any means. So let's get into it a little bit. I am the code boss on Twitter, on Instagram, on Reddit, just about everywhere. So if you can follow me there. I work at a company called Clevyr. It's spelled Clevyr. This is our cool gear logo. I'll spell it again at the end because it's spelled a little different because we're clever. We do a lot of development. We're a consulting firm as far as development goes. We build mobile applications, web applications, websites. We're just a mile up the road. We work with a lot of clients in the community. We've also got some internal products that we're trying to build. But the big thing is we try to be super community focused. I give a lot of talks here. Other people at Clevyr give a lot of talks. One of the co-owners of Starspace is our head of business development. And the other thing is we're really ramping up our social media here, thanks to our new hire, Mackenzie, right here. So if you've been following us anywhere, keep following us, and you're going to see a lot more stuff. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Dribbble, everywhere. We're really pushing that a lot. I also work at a company called Clevyr Labs. Everyone at Clevyr works at Clevyr Labs. This is our VR, AR side of the business. Clevyr Labs got started about, I'd say, almost a year ago. I want to say last July, where we focus on strictly virtual reality and augmented reality projects. We've got some applications in the App Store, some games. You can go to cleverlabs.com to see those. We've got some cool demos in our office, and our head of business development, Mike Slack, loves to get everyone in to see things. So if you ever want to see a demo, hit us up. We would love to have you in. I've got a cool demo on our business card that I'd love to show after this, if you have any interest in that. But that's me, that's Clevyr, and that's Clevyr Labs. So let's get into the talk. We're going to talk about several different points here. And the first one is shirts. And if you have seen any of my talks before, you know that I like to throw out shirts. There's a lot of reasons behind that. Some of it's marketing, some of it's just to make sure everyone's awake, because if you see a shirt flying at you, it makes you feel a little bit more into everything. Then we're going to talk about the first step you need to have when wanting to give a talk is you got to have an idea. After that, you got to take the plunge. What that means is you've got to just sign up for a talk. You've got to do it. Sign up, at least. Then we're going to talk about what to expect, not when you're expecting, but when you're expecting to give a talk. We're going to talk about how to prepare. We're going to talk about the actual talk itself. We're going to talk about answering questions after the talk. We're going to talk about after the talk. And then we're going to finish up with my story about how I've been doing talks, which I've been doing those for a while now, because I think it's empowering to hear how other people go about, how other people's story can maybe affect yours as well. And then we're going to talk about shirts again. So why am I talking about shirts twice? Well, the first bit is I've got 4 Clevyr shirts here. They're kind of dispersed. Some of them are little skyline shirts with the Ferris wheel on them. Some of them are the Clevyr Labs shirt that I'm wearing right now. And usually I throw these out when I ask questions and you answer them. We're not doing that this time. This time, to get a shirt, and I've got various sizes. If it's the wrong size, I'll get you the right one at the next meetup. That's fine. But to get a shirt, you have to sign up for a talk. It can be at any user group. It can be about any topic. I'm not going to ask you for the topic today because I'm giving you such short notice. I'm going to ask you again at the end of this talk, all right, who wants to give a talk? But you do have to tell me about when you would want to give a talk. A few months is fine, 5 months down the road is fine, something like that. And you have to tell me what user group you want to talk at. And I'm going to keep my eye on you. I'm going to make sure that you actually do end up giving this talk. So again, the topic doesn't matter. You can tell me the topic later, because I know that's short notice. If it's your first or second time speaking, then you can give a lightning talk. That's absolutely fine. If it's your third or beyond time speaking, like some of us here, and you want to get a shirt, then you have to give at least a half-length talk or a full-length talk. I'm making you do a full talk, not a full talk, but half or full, not a lightning talk. But that's my motivation for you guys to want to give a talk, other than just going through everything itself. So I won't ask right now, but be thinking throughout this talk what you might want to give a talk on, or just what group you might want to talk at, or that you might want to give a talk at all. If you don't know your topic, that's fine. That's completely fine, because you can figure that out later. Just taking that first step is the big one. So let's get into things. The first step you have to do when wanting to give it, or even you're wanting to give a talk, is you have to have an idea. And it can be literally anything. This is addressing that point where you say, oh, my talk idea is not good enough, or I do such small or weird things that no one's going to find it interesting. And that's not true. Your topic is going to be good enough, because here's the thing, and I'm going to make this point a lot. You know something that I don't know, and that applies to everyone here. And even if it's just one thing, which it's not, I guarantee you know a lot more than I do about a lot of things, but even if it's just one thing that I'm learning from you during a talk, that's a win for me. Like, if I can come to this group, learn something, and leave, that's a win. That's a win for me. It's a win for you giving the talk. There's no topic, as long as it's technical related, or even not. This is not a technical talk right now. If it's a talk that benefits you in some way, then it's a good talk, no matter how small. It's really all about learning, and that's what we're doing here. We wouldn't come to these user groups if we weren't trying to learn. So you've got to have an idea, and I promise you, everyone here does something that no one else knows about, or doesn't know, that they're not an expert in, that you could teach them. So that's what I want to encourage you, just to think about those kind of things. If it's just something small, that's the start. That's a great place to start. The next step, once you've got some idea, is you've got to take the plunge. You've got to just take the dive, and you've got to sign up for a talk. I would love to tell you that just wait till you're comfortable until you want to give a talk, but that's not going to happen. Not for me, not for anyone else. You're never going to feel comfortable when you say, I want to give a talk on this date doing this. And that's how everyone works. So you just got to sign up. You've got to sign a check that you later have to cash. That's just what you have to do. That's what I found is the best thing. If you keep wondering, you'll never let yourself do it. And that's why I don't want to tell you to be comfortable enough to sign up for one. You've just got to sign up for it. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be crazy nervous. But that's okay, because everyone is. It's not just you. You're not alone in whatever you would be feeling when you're about to give a talk. That's not just you. It's everyone, and everyone knows that too. Okay. So you took the plunge. You signed up for a talk. Give yourself a nice pat on the back. So now what? You've got some time, a few weeks, a few months, I don't know. But you've got some time until your talk. So what should you do? Well, here's what to expect before you start preparing. But let's actually talk about what you shouldn't expect first. What you should not expect is no one is going to think that, you should not expect everyone to think that you're an expert in everything. You don't have to give a talk and feel like you have to know absolutely everything about this topic. No one lives like that. There's always going to be things that you don't know. And that's a good thing. That humanizes you. That humanizes the speaker. It shows you in the audience that the speaker is not some sort of a deity in this particular thing, this development. No one's going to expect you to be an expert. None of you guys are expecting me to be an expert, and I don't go to talks thinking that, okay, this person is just the best in the whole world. So don't feel like you have to know everything. I love this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's my favorite quote of all time, not only specific for this reason, but every man I meet is my superior in some way, and in that I learn from him. You can learn something from literally anyone. The janitor at the local high school, you can learn something from him. President of, I was going to say the United States, but we'll step away from all politics here. But your favorite politician, you can learn from them. You can learn something from anyone. Going back to development, I promise you that. You can teach us something, I promise. And that's what we want to learn. We want to learn that's something that you have to share. And it doesn't matter how small. If you wrote a little library in C# that you want to share, that's perfect. Like that's a perfect lightning talk. Or if it's a big thing, maybe that's a half-length talk or a full-length talk. But again, just think small for starters, especially if it's your first time talking, your first time wanting to give a talk. Just start small, lowest hanging fruit, something that you feel like you could talk about for a little bit. But that's something that we want to learn, or else we wouldn't be here, or we wouldn't be tuning in on Twitch. This is something that's really comforted me as I've kind of given talks. And I've done a handful of talks over the years. I genuinely feel like I'm just talking to my friends at this point. I'm not trying to impress you. I know that you're not expecting me to try to impress you. I'm just sharing something, my experiences, honestly. So you guys are just my friends, and that's how I think about it. And I think that's a healthy way to think about it. So this is something that I'm going to bring up over and over again. It's okay to not know. You don't have to be the expert. If you ask me a question, I know you're not trying to stump me. I know you're not trying to try to confuse me or anything. But there's a lot of times where I just don't know the answers to questions that I'm asked, and that's always okay. I will flat out say I don't know, and I love saying I don't know because again, it takes the pressure off me. I feel like I don't have to. I feel like I don't have to BS an answer. I don't have to just come up with something, and then it humanizes me as well because then you guys know, okay, he doesn't know absolutely everything. Like maybe he's kind of like me. Like we don't know all the things, so maybe I could give up. Maybe I could get up there. Maybe I could give a talk. So my favorite answer whenever you ask me questions is I don't know. We'll get into that more during the answering questions phase, but this is something that I want to bring up again and again. Is it's okay to not know. You don't have to be the expert. Okay, so we've kind of gone over what to expect a little bit. Let's talk about how to prepare for giving a talk. The first thing you should do is just build an outline. And this is it can be a simple, tiny outline. It can be intro. Talk about the tool that I'm talking about, give an intro into that. Talk about the use cases that I've been using for using this tool. Maybe do a little demo about the tool. And that's the whole outline. That's a perfect place to start. You don't have to build out just the whole presentation right off the bat. Just start with something small, start with a broad outline, and then you can figure out how you actually want to present. And this can be however you want to, however best fits your need. I do recommend having a visual aid of some sort. I think it's helpful. It lets your eyes kind of, as a speaker, kind of sit on something so you kind of know what to talk about flow-wise. It keeps other people more interested too, just because you've got me and you've got the slides. But it doesn't have to be slides. It can be anything. It can be a PowerPoint. It can be Google Docs. It can be slides.com. It can be live coding. It doesn't have to be these at all. It can be something. One time I gave a talk over how to do dev blogging, and my visual aid was a blog post that I wrote about how to give dev blogs. I guess I like doing these meta talks. That just seems to be me. But however you want to give a talk, that's what I recommend. And in this talk right here, you don't have to impress anyone with your slides or anything. I know if you've been to conferences or you've seen conference speakers or you've seen other speakers talk, it can be intimidating to think, oh wow, they have such phenomenal presentations that I can tell they spent months on. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And you don't have to. You don't have to do that at all. Look at this slideshow right here. Like this is literally just sentence after sentence. There's no images. There's no images at all. And I'm just using a command line tool called sent. That's why it says sent up there. And this is my whole presentation right here. This is literally it. It's just a text file that converts it into a presentation. So I'm not trying to impress anyone with this. This is just a very simple way for me to give a talk. And I just have a command line tool, just an executable called sent, and I'm running the thing. Not saying you have to do this by any means, but I'm just saying that keep it simple. Don't overwhelm yourself for the first time, because you can easily get overwhelmed. If you look at how other people have given talks, like the big speakers at all the conferences, they are trying to impress people because you're talking in front of thousands of other people, and that's they're experienced in this. They've been down that road before. You don't have to do that at all, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't even compare yourself to others right now, because if it's your first time speaking, especially, it's just completely different. It's a whole new ball game. So instead of comparing yourself to others, just compare yourself to you. Yesterday you weren't giving a talk. Maybe today you will sign up for a talk. That's a huge win. Like that's a huge step right there. That's what you should be comparing. Don't compare yourself to Martin Fowler or any other big tech guy who's spoken at X amount of conferences several times. That's not an ample comparison. I don't compare my nice 11-minute mile to Usain Bolt or anything, and I shouldn't do that as well. So the next thing, which is probably obvious, is you should practice. So you're preparing for your talk, you should practice. But I'm going to dispel a few myths here as far as practicing goes. You want to practice certainly a few times. It depends on how long your talk is. If you're giving a 5-minute talk, you can practice it 10 times or so and be fine. If you're giving an hour talk, that's going to be a pain to practice it 10 times. It's 10 hours of your time there. So practice it, but don't go crazy. And again, I wish I could say practice until you feel comfortable with your talk. But again, that doesn't happen. You don't ever get to a point where you feel comfortable. It's like studying for finals or something. You never think like, man, I really know all the material. I feel so good right now. So what I would say instead is practice until you don't want to practice anymore. And when that happens, like let's say you're practicing for your talk and you just think, man, I really want to go to a coffee shop right now and just hang out. That's a good sign that you're ready, that you're at that point where you're going to do fine. So practice to the point where you don't want to practice anymore. And this is one of my big hints here is this is what I do a lot. I do it over lunches. I did it just this morning. As you're going through your slides or your visual aid, you can practice in your head without actually talking. You can and I mouth the words too. Like I do everything just without actually voicing, just so I'm not disturbing people around me, things like that. But I do this, whenever I give talks, I do practice over lunches usually, and I just do it in my head without actually saying words, and it works really well. That's probably how I do practice most of my talks. I don't actually auditorily give them. For the first few times I did, absolutely, and I'll go over that more in the my story phase. But there's a ton of ways you can practice. One thing you should not do is don't try to memorize everything. I didn't print out, a 5-page document before coming here and memorize every word. That's not feasible. You're going to mess things up, and then that's going to stress you out because you don't know what's the next sentence. I forgot. What I would encourage you to do instead is memorize the actual concepts. Memorize the points, so I kind of know that after this section we're going to talk about the talk, and then we'll talk about answering questions, etc. Those are the things that I encourage you to memorize, and that kind of leads into the flow as well. Know kind of the next steps that you're talking about, but don't try to memorize specific words. You can memorize jokes. That's always great if you have a joke you want to put in there. But don't try to memorize everything. That will really hurt you in the end. And it makes it not fun. That's the big thing. Is these talks they should be fun. They're nervous. They're very nerve-wracking, getting set up for it and beforehand. But it is fun during it, and it's a lot of fun afterwards, looking back at it. And here's another thing. I don't think I've addressed this yet. Everyone wants you to succeed. You guys are in the audience. You're not hoping that all of a sudden my slide's going to go down or that I'm going to just forget what my next sentence or whole topic is going to be. You don't want that. And I don't want it either, obviously. You guys came here to learn, and I know that you want everything just to go smoothly. So it's like when you see presentations and someone is live coding and there's an error and they can't figure it out. I think the speaker oftentimes thinks like, oh no, I'm making everyone unhappy by doing this. But you guys are out there thinking like, oh, come on, buddy, fix it. We want you to do it. So that's the thing, is everyone wants you to succeed. No one out there is trying to get you. No one's going to try to ask you unanswerable questions or try to stump you. You guys came here to learn, and that's the big thing. Everyone wants you to do well. And yeah, we addressed this as well. No one's critiquing you. No one's asking you silly questions. I mean, maybe silly questions, sure, but no, they're not trying to make you appear dumb or anything like that. So let's talk about the actual talk itself, which is what we're doing right now. The first minute is going to be rough. That's where you're getting in. You're plugging in your computer. You're giving your name. You're getting set up. You're going to stumble a little bit here, and that's completely normal. For those of you who are long-distance runners, I am not one of those, but I have heard that the first mile is always the toughest one, and then after that, you just get in the flow. That's exactly how talking is, and I'm sure that's probably how just about everything in life is. The first minute's tough, but after that, you just get in the rhythm, and you're just going. After the first minute, you get in the zone. I read a book one time that said it had a good saying in it, and it said, "You're perfect at everything until you think about it." So I think after that first minute, you just kind of stop thinking about it. So you get in the zone, and then one thing that I really recommend, and that's honestly why I throw these shirts around, this is the big reason, is be interactive. Change the tone of your voice and everything. That doesn't mean you have to have flashing GIFs on your screen. You could do that, but I'd argue that's probably more distracting. But I don't know, you can throw candy out in the audience. That always gets everyone happy. That's what I do when I talk to high school kids. It keeps them awake because they have a real problem with that. But anything you can do to be interactive, that gets everyone engaged. So that's why I throw the shirts a lot of the time. And again, at this point, you're in the middle of your talk. Don't sweat it. Like, you've done the work at this point. You've done the research. You know the material. Like, you're just bulleting through it. If anything happens, if power goes out, if all of a sudden my display just stops working up there for whatever reason, I know this is tough, but things are going to happen. And I won't say don't worry about it, because that's not going to happen. But just roll with it. Like, it's all going to work out in the end. It always does. I've never seen a talk just flat out end because something happened, barring like a meteor hitting the building. That would do it. But things are going to happen. So just go with it. And that, having a comfortable speaker makes everyone else feel comfortable too. Even if you're just like shrieking on the inside, which I hope you wouldn't be. But and one of the big pro tips I have is just keep an eye on the clock. Everyone loves to get out early. No one likes to get out late. So the fact that I said we should be done by 12:15, I kind of set a standard for myself by knowing that we're not going to go over 12:15. If we do, then I'll just stay on that. That's not going to be great. 12:30 would be the hard deadline, because everyone here's got to go back to work. But it's always better to end early than it is to end late. Just a little pro tip. So let's get into answering questions. And I think I've probably addressed the main concern here, but it's okay to not know. It's always okay to not know. It is my favorite response, is to say, I don't know. The best response would be, I don't know, but here's where you could find more information about that. And it may just be Google this phrase. But if you can direct someone to the right place, that's the best thing. But again, me saying I don't know is good, because I don't feel the pressure to have to answer it or make up an answer, and you guys feel better because if I don't know the answer, then that makes you feel like, okay, he's not, I'm not putting him up as high as a pedestal, which is good. I shouldn't be on any pedestal at all. If you do know it though, great, you can answer it on the spot. But don't stress about it if you don't know. That is not a problem at all. Admitting you don't know the answer is always okay, because everyone loves honesty. People respect honesty. People don't like to be BS. So if I try to make up an answer and you can tell I'm making up an answer, that's not a good sign. That's not a good thing. So I should have just said I don't know from the beginning. So after the talk, you've given the talk, you've done the hard part. What happens then? Well, you feel pretty awesome. You feel all the nervousness gone. You feel so good. And I played tennis when I was in high school, so it feels like you just won Wimbledon. I imagine that's just what everyone can relate to when something awesome happens in their life. But you feel really good. And then something amazing happens afterwards too. It's the best part. It makes you want to sign up for another talk, because you just love that feeling. Everyone is getting to know you afterwards. When people hear you talk, they're gonna recognize you again. If they see you, they're gonna know, oh, he gave that talk at that user group. They're gonna follow you on social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. In the Techlahoma Slack, which if you're a part of that, that's awesome. If you're not a part of it, I encourage you to join it. If anyone sees you chatting, they saw your talk, they're gonna think, hey, there's that guy who gave a talk, as opposed to just, hey, there's this random person. People get to know you, and that's a good thing. We're a very community-driven community here, we're small enough to where things like that actually matter. Like, you can give a talk here once, and that's going to resonate with a lot of people, as opposed to, I'm sure if you were in like the DFW area or something, that's probably big enough to where you may have to give a few before people know you. But we're a tight-knit community here, so those things genuinely matter. And lightning talks too. Like, I remember most of the lightning talks that I've been to. Talked about this, knowing you on the Techlahoma Slack. Okay. One of the things I want to finish up on is just my story. So for me, at this point, I've given a handful of talks. I like talking because I just feel like I'm talking to my friends. And it's also a challenge. It absolutely is. There's never a point where I've gotten where I've thought, man, talking is easy. I can just do it all the time. It's always a challenge. And it's kind of fun because you as a speaker get to dictate how challenging you want to make it. Do you want to do a different slideshow type thing? Do you want to do live coding? Do you want to do a live demonstration, etc.? You get to choose that. So it's always a challenge. Do I get nervous? Absolutely, every single time. And I think this applies to every speaker, no matter what you can tell with their voice. You always get nervous. My hands are ice cold right now. This morning I was just sweating all over. That's me. I get crazy nervous, and I think a lot of people do. So don't think that the speaker is just some awesome person who just is awesome at this, because that's not it. We just have fun, and that's what it comes back to. It's challenging and it's fun. So. My first talk was at OKCRB, which I meant to do I pushed for this at the beginning. We're OKCRB, the Ruby Club, is under new leadership right now, and we're really pushing some intro series. This is a little off to the side push. It's me, Carmen, and John are heading up that group, and we have got a meetup 1 week from this Thursday. So a week and a half away. It's going to be Intro to Ruby. So if you want to learn something, come to that. Here, same time, 11:30, just on Thursday the 14th. It's going to be awesome. And Shing's going to give a talk in the future as well. I've already forced him into that. Okay, back to this. So I gave my first talk there, and that was in December 2014. That was a full-length talk, and I prepped for several weeks for that. Like, I think 3 weeks. I wanted to make sure I felt very comfortable with it. And then I gave another talk as well at OKCRB about 6 or 7 months later, and that was a full-length talk as well. And I spent about a week preparing for that, but I spent a lot of time that week doing that. And several talks later, it's been a lot since then, but I've gotten used to them a little bit more, so I kind of spend less time preparing for them. This one I built over the weekend. I've given other talks where I spent 2 weeks preparing. I've given some where I've done 1 day preparing. It varies, but you get more comfortable with it as you go on. So when you start off, you're very nervous. You're exceptionally nervous, and you spend a lot of time preparing. But that does get easier as you go on, just because. And I think a lot of that's just the comfort level. Like, I know I'm not trying to impress anyone here. If I mess up, it's okay. And doing your first talk, that's kind of where you're like, I don't know what happens if I mess up, or what happens in this situation. That's why I'm here trying to tell you it's always going to be okay. We just want you to do well, and that's what's going to make the audience happy. So anyway, that's mostly my story. I've got a little bonus thing here, and this is a kind of a challenge where you don't always have to give a talk over something that you know very well. For your first talk or second talk, I probably would encourage you to talk over something that you know very well. But one of my favorite things to do over the last year or so is to try to sign up for a talk that I don't know anything about, because in my opinion, giving a talk over something is the perfect way to learn something enough to where, if you can learn it enough to talk about it for a little bit, then that means you've learned quite a bit to try to give that talk. So I did this actually recently at the last, it forces you to learn something. So I did this at the last DevOps meetup I gave a talk at a few months ago. The talk before mine, Paul, last name's not coming to me, but Dawson, there it is, Paul Dawson, gave a talk about a HashiCorp tool called Packer, which is this one in the middle here. And it was awesome, and it opened my eyes to some things, and I learned about other tools called Ansible and Terraform, which I knew a little bit about, but I thought, hey, you can use these together. But I've never used any of these tools together. So I signed up for a talk the next month and said, hey, let me talk about these 3 things together. I got the okay, and then I thought, all right, I need to start learning these things now. And that was a lot of fun. I'm signing a check that I have to cash in a month, but I learned a ton. And I knew going into it, no matter what kind of presentation I gave, I was going to be fine, just because I'm not trying to impress anyone. If I just, did a 15, 20-minute talk, even though I signed up for a full-length talk, that would have been fine. Again, everyone loves to get out early. Nothing wrong with that. So that's a bonus. You can absolutely do it for your first talk if you want to, but I know that's not it. That can make you a little more stressed out, giving a talk over something you don't know about. So that's just a bonus thing. If you are a veteran speaker, I recommend trying it out. If you're a first-time speaker, if it interests you, try it out. It genuinely makes it fun, and you get to learn a lot. So it's shirt time. So I hope some people have had some time to think about talks that you don't have to give me the topic, but is there anyone who would like to sign up for a lightning talk, a half-length talk, any form of talk at all? I've got 4 shirts here. I'm going to keep talking weird like this for a good minute. All righty. Okay, so before I give you a shirt, when are you going to give a talk, estimated, and what user group?
I'll do one here. I don't know what the schedule is, just, 1 to 2 months. Jeremy?
Oh, about Docker?
Yeah, awesome. I'll do the Docker talk.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to you about it.
All right. Wheeler District shirt or Clevyr Labs shirt?
Wheeler District.
All right. And if it's not the right size, then just let me know. We'll figure it out. I'm going to probably hit something there. We did it. Anybody else? If it's your first or second time speaking, you can give a lightning talk. That's completely fine. If you've talked more than that, then I'm going to make you give at least a half-length talk. I got a couple more minutes up here, so I'm going to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. Okay, what are you going to talk about? No, you don't have to tell me the topic, just what user group and when.
I'm not sure, but in the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
I will coordinate and come up with
Okay, and you've talked more than a couple times, so either a half length or a full length? Okay, and I think you told me you wanted a Clevyr Lab shirt, right? All right. Got 2 more shirts. Did it? Okay, I have pressured Shing into giving a talk. Would you like to officially say you're going to give this talk, Shing?
Let's go with the lightning talk.
It is your first time, so okay, okay. Do you have both of these shirts?
No, I don't have the Clevyr Labs.
Okay, here you go. 1 shirt left. 1 beautiful Ferris Wheeler District shirt left. Yeah.
Actually, Kimberly approached me and doing one next time.
Okay, that counts. I can't throw it all the way over there, so I'll keep it up here and I'll give it to you afterwards. We did it, guys. That's awesome. Okay, so the last, I'm going to leave you with 3 bullet points because I know this was a lot we went over. You're never going to feel comfortable when you sign up for a talk. No one here that just signed up for one ever felt comfortable, I promise. Except maybe Shing, he seemed to feel real good. I know Shing, so I bug him a lot. I'm not just picking on him. You got to take the plunge. You just have to sign up. That's the only way you're going to make yourself give a talk. You're not going to feel comfortable, and that's okay. Like that's how everyone is. The next thing, you don't have to be an expert, and no one expects you to be an expert. It's always okay to not know things. So I really hope you go into a talk knowing that. And the last thing is that everyone wants you to succeed, which may not seem that important to you as a speaker, but it genuinely, people in the audience are not trying to, they want you to do great. They want you to do awesome. They came here to learn, and they want you to feel comfortable so that they feel comfortable. Everyone wants this to be a positive experience. So no one's trying to get you. No one's trying to do anything to mess you up. We're all trying to help. The audience is trying to help you as a speaker, and the speaker, obviously, you're preaching your knowledge, so you're trying to help the audience. It's a very symbiotic relationship. Okay, so that's all I got. If you want to learn more about the company I work for, this is how we spell it, Clevyr, C-L-E-V-Y-R. You can go to clevyr.com. You can also go to cleverlabs.com and see all the cool virtual reality, augmented reality stuff we've been doing. We've got some games there that we've got links to all the app stores. Our newest one, Cybershark, just dropped in the App Store. I don't know if it's in the Google Play Store yet, but if it's not, then it'll be there soon. Free, so check it out. Your kids will love it for real. And if you want to learn more about me, I'm Aaron Krauss. I'm the code boss, and I have a website called thesociety.org. I have a blog post about where that name came from, in case you would like to research it. But that's me. That's all I got. Thank you very much. I'll leave this up for a second, unless you need to plug back in.